whatever you'd like. The green button is the one on the right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Then move the microphone however you'd like it when there are questions. This will work. I don't know if you managed to see how this worked with Representative Eisenhardt yesterday, but when you're representing yourself, it'll work substantially the same. We'll swear you in. We'll ask you a couple questions, and then we'll turn you over to the parties to ask their questions. And if they have questions, you will be able to redirect based on their questions and then be done. But the testimony's already been provided. So, ready?
I wasn't here yesterday. I couldn't make it yesterday, but
We'll get you through it.
will try to do my best.
You'll be just fine. Go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is true and accurate?
I do.
Are you the same? You can put it down now. Are you the same Julie Kaufman who filed pre-filed testimony in this matter?
I am.
Do you have any corrections to your testimony?
I don't have corrections. I'm just, could I ask you, I'm not sure everything I want to say is in that. Does it all have to be in that?
Substantially, yes.
Substantially, okay.
Yeah. If asked the same questions today, would you provide substantially the same answers?
That's in there, yes.
Okay. The board will now allow the parties to conduct their cross-examination. Once the parties finish, the board may ask you questions if it has any. Upon conclusion of the cross-examination questions, you will be allowed to clarify any answers to questions you were asked on the cross-examination. This is not time to begin a new line of questioning or add testimony. Would you like to move admission of your pre-filed testimony?
Yes.
Are there objections? Seeing none, the board will admit the testimony and give it the weight due. Are there questions from the parties? Ms. Grunhagen.
Good morning, Ms. Kaufman. We're over here.
Good morning.
Hi. My name is Chris Grunhagen, and I'm representing Iowa Farm Bureau. And I just have a clarifying question with testimony. On page 2, lines 3 through 6, you talk about where you live and where your oldest daughter lives.
Yes.
Would you mind pointing that out on the map if the staff could bring up the KMZ for Shelby 016 and 017?
Okay, that's our farm, and the buildings are over there in the northeast corner, not that one down there. That's our farm.
Okay. And it looks like are there 2 residences at that farmstead?
There are. We moved onto that farm when we were married, and we built the big house on the farm. And then the little house was originally for the hired man years ago. And then when our daughter and her husband moved back, they moved into the little house. And then we since have switched houses because we use the little house like a guest house, basically. And we now live in the guest house, and our kids live in, because we don't need a big house anymore. So we live in the little house, and they live in the big house. But we are beside each other. I mean, the kids run through the yard down to Grandma and Grandpa's, and so we are very close to one another, just across, just next door.
Okay. And so both houses are close to the gravel road there, kind of on the northeast side of that farmstead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the houses are right there.
And is that location maybe or just a little bit under a half mile to the proposed route?
Correct. Okay. Yes.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Yes, we're right about that, or a little less than a half a mile from where the proposed route is.
Thank you. Ms. Ryan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Kaufman.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask you some additional questions about your house. And so I'm going to ask you to answer separately for both the big house and the little house. When were those houses built? Can you give me a year?
The little house was built years ago. I don't really know when. It was when my father-in-law was still alive. Maybe it's an old house. I don't know exactly when it was built. Our house was built when we were married in 1982.
So would you say the little house approximately 100 years old?
Not quite, probably.
Okay.
No.
Do you happen to know when the last time you had any windows replaced on either of those houses?
Well, the windows in our house were when we built it in the 82, I think, is the year. And the windows in the little house, we put in new windows when we moved in there. Or maybe when the kids moved in there, I'm not sure, but they're within the last 10 years.
Do you happen to know what level of insulation you have in either of those houses?
I don't think I can answer that question. I don't. The little house is built into the side of the hill. It's a ground house, kind of just, so it has pretty good insulation, I think. On the north side, anyway, it's into the hill. And on the south side, it's to the sun, so not so much on that side, I suppose.
Is the little house a single-story house?
Well, it was, but when we did add a garage and put a room above, we added a garage and another bathroom and put a room above that when we moved in. So it has one big room kind of above that.
And which floor is your bedroom on?
The ground floor.
And you mentioned that you have grandkids who, spend a lot of time outside.
Yes,
Do you have outdoor facilities?
You're just a little too close to the mic.
Okay.
Usually the opposite problem we have. Sorry,
Okay.
just getting a little feedback. You're doing great.
Right.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Do you have
Apologies.
outdoor facilities, maybe playground equipment or anything that they use outside?
When our oldest son, who's about 35 now, I think, when he was 2, my husband built him a playground, which is, when kids came, they said, you have your own park. It's a huge playground with tons of sand. It's not just a little sand pile. You could put a volleyball court in, and if it didn't have so much playground equipment in it. So yeah, it was built 33 years ago, and our grandkids play on it now. It's well built.
Do you have any gardens or places where you spend time outside?
Gardening is kind of my passion. I spend a lot of time in the yard.
When you are inside, do you ever spend time at home with the windows open?
The windows are open too much. Lots of flies in my house. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Ma'am, you had talked about safety concerns in your written testimony.
Oh, there. Okay, thank you.
You had talked about safety concerns in your written testimony, and you mentioned to Ms. Goodhagen about the proximity of the buildings there. How far away would the nearest emergency response personnel be?
Westphalia, our little town of, well, I don't know how many's in Westphalia, less than 100 people probably, has a volunteer fire department, and so it's about half a mile, I guess.
Okay.
It's a mile away, but they're all volunteers, so they come in from everywhere.
Okay. Had you talked with some of the land agents about perhaps a route farther away from the buildings and the residents?
We really have not talked with land agents. We've made it very clear to them from the very beginning that we were not interested in selling our land, and we don't want to sign any part of that agreement with them because it doesn't really have too much in it for us, I don't think. It's just all for them, and we made it very clear we weren't interested in their proposals to buy our land or to have us sign a permanent lease agreement with them. So they really haven't. They've tried many times to contact us, but we usually just don't answer the phone, or just we're not interested is our answer to them.
What kind of attempts have they made to contact you?
Many attempts, just mostly calling and letters, and I don't think anyone has ever actually spoken to me personally because I haven't been available for them.
Okay. Finally, in your written testimony, you made some brief comment about this pipeline project in relation to the ethanol industry. Can you clarify what you meant by that?
I don't remember what does it say? What is the question again?
Let me ask it a different way. What is your feeling about whether this project benefits the ethanol industry and how that affects you as a corn grower?
Oh, well, we don't depend on the ethanol industry. I mean, I think it helps farmers. Ethanol, we're not against ethanol, but ethanol is already the most subsidized industry in Iowa. And I guess we will be, there are lots of uses for corn. And I don't think we have to have ethanol. I hope I'm not against ethanol, but that's my feeling about ethanol.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Whippel?
Good morning, Ms. Kaufman. Did you say your farm is a half mile from Westphalia, or is the pipeline route a half mile from Westphalia?
The pipeline route would be a half a mile from us, and we're approximately maybe a mile and a half to Westphalia.
Okay. And if we could just look at the screen again for a minute. Your farm is in the northeast section of that parcel that we're looking at, but just to the north on the other side of the road, there's another farmstead.
Right. Those are my neighbors.
Those are neighbors, and what are their names?
Tammy and Toby Hastert.
And they've signed an easement?
They don't own they own the acreage, but they don't own the land, so I don't think they have signed anything.
How close is that farmstead to the proposed route, would you guess?
Very close. If we're half a mile, they might be a quarter mile.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde? Mr. Taylor? Just double checking.
Ma'am, looking at the map there, have you had any discussions with your neighbors there, the folks you just mentioned that live on that acreage, relative to safety concerns or concerns about this project?
Yes, Tammy is one of my dearest friends, and we talk all the time, so yes.
And have you come to understand that because they don't own the land, even though they're what looks like less than a quarter mile of the proposed pipeline, that they didn't have the ability to say no to an easement or make their voices heard? Is that your understanding?
Well, they don't have as big a voice. I feel like we don't have a very big voice either, but yeah, they can't testify here, I don't believe.
And would it concern you if, in the case of a release or rupture, that a toxic plume of CO2 could travel greater than 3,800 feet from this pipeline near your home and your grandchildren there?
That is probably my number one concern. I think the safety, this is not a safe project. They cannot prove that it's safe to we already know that they had that rupture in Satartia and evacuated over 200 people, and 40 some were hospitalized, and the thought of that happening to any of my grandchildren or any of my family, this is our home, and it just feels like a violation of our private property rights, actually.
Do you have any idea why to this day, September 20th to 2023, that Summit has still failed to release any of their dispersion modeling or hazard distance data to anyone publicly?
I can't speak why they aren't doing that, but it seems to me that it might be because it's about money. That's my feeling. It's not about safety. This is, in fact, the CEO, as I understand, of Summit Bruce Rastetter, has said this would not be, they wouldn't even be doing this project if it wasn't for the carbon tax credits, that they are dependent upon that for making money, and this is a private investment company that wants to make money, and I'm a capitalist, I'm not against making money, but I am against taking other people's land to do it.
And what about subsidizing the project via tax credits? Are you for or against that?
Subsidizing this, I think it's the biggest boondoggle ever. I am totally against subsidizing it with tax credits.
Are there any updates to your testimony you'd like to make?
I can't think of something right now. I have plenty of concerns, but I think most of my concerns have all been said. I don't know if I can say it any better than many already have. I have concerns about safety. I have concerns about our private property rights. I have concerns about our crops, our environment. I have concerns about being able to take someone's private property for their private fortune. It's just not right.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I don't have anything further.
Okay. So with no other questions from the party, you may redirect yourself, which means, oh, sorry, board member.
Ms. Kaufman, just quickly, you made a statement that the ethanol industry is the most subsidized industry in Iowa.
To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but yes, I believe that's correct. I could be wrong.
Where does agriculture rank in that? Where does farming rank in that?
Well, they're connected, yes. I don't know, can you separate them? I don't know. Corn is used for ethanol, I do understand that, but corn is also used for many, many other things.
So do you have a source to cite for that statement of the ethanol industry being the most?
I believe I heard it at one of the hearings, so no, I do not have a source.
All right, thank you.
Like I said, I could be wrong, but I do know it is. I should revise it saying it is a highly subsidized. Perhaps it is not the most, but I think it's right up there.
Okay. Ms. Hayek, I see your card up. Did I miss you before the board? What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Wait. This is on me. The board will traditionally ask questions last. I made this mistake, so please, Ms. Hayek, we'll break precedence.
Thank you.
We have a little more leeway for non-lawyers.
Thank you. What sort of interactions have you had with Summit, may I ask?
Not a lot, other than they've sent us letters, and I talked to one person on the phone once, and I made it very clear that we were not interested.
And did they continue to talk to you, or you just said no and that was it?
We've had they've tried to talk to me. They have contacted me. I mean, I get notices from, phone calls, but I usually don't answer them because I don't want to talk to them. We don't want anything to do with these easements. Okay. We don't want this to be built on our farm or anywhere. I think they're dangerous.
So do you feel that Summit's provided you with truthful answers to any of all your questions that you've had when you did talk with them?
Well, I think they're trying to say that this is a very safe and project, and that nothing, I don't need to worry. But I think it's not been proven that it is very safe and or that it's even effective. That we really do absolutely need this. I guess I don't believe the sky is falling and that that without taking carbon from the air, we are doomed, because I think that we actually need carbon dioxide to make oxygen. I learned that in grade school.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll get this process down. Okay, Ms. Kaufman, you can now provide redirect, which is just clarification for any of the questions you've just been asked today, but not add new testimony. So if you'd like to clarify any of the questions, otherwise, we appreciate you.
Right, I guess I could clarify that I do not know for certain that ethanol industry is the most subsidized industry in Iowa, but I do know that it is highly subsidized. I would like to clarify that.
Thank you. All right. With that, we appreciate you coming. Thank you. Lisa or William Stuck?